Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video we are looking at the Play Arts Kai variant Catwoman, which is the Tetsuya Nomura design Catwoman, meant to go with that Batman with all the crazy wings and stuff. And she has an equally cool kind of techno future looking suit, which I personally really like. It just looks really cool. I like the way that they integrated the purple and the black and the silver like she's had in various outfits throughout her history. And then this kind of a lighter brown mixed into her suit. I think it just looks really cool. It gives her a new kind of style, which I think it suits the character pretty darn well. She stands roughly about 27 centimeters, which makes her about almost 11 inches tall to the top of her ears, which is pretty sizable. She comes with a few accessories. We have the standard hands that you see here, so nothing really special there, but then we also have one style pose hand. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Pretty standard style pose hand. And then we get a whip holding hand that you can use for her two accessories, which I'm about to show you. And we get a gun holding hand for the left side, and a gun holding hand for the right side, which I have the gun in there to show you that she can hold it really nicely. And the gun has a pretty decent amount of detail on there. You can also put the gun in her thigh holster if you choose to do that. I don't particularly care for the thigh holster, and it can come off, so I might end up leaving it off, but then it creates a pretty big hole, so I would probably end up leaving it on, unfortunately. But it is there. And then lastly, we have the two different whips. So these things are not bendable. They are flexible though. This one is meant to look like it has all the little blades already extended, and this one is meant to look like it hasn't already been extended. I really wish they were flexible, or bendable, because it's very hard to get them in a pose that looks natural with these built-in permanent sculpts, especially since these are not only whips, but they are also meant to go on her as like a robotic tail, which can peg into this nubbin back here, which I personally don't like. They should have been able to just peg right into her back. Having the nubbin here means it looks really bad without them connected, and it also means that when they are connected, it still doesn't look very good. It's just not well executed. It does not look very good to me at all. If you do want to have the tail on, that I guess makes sense, to have like a robotic tail. She could use that. It would be practical, sure. But the way it's executed on the figure, just not very good. So that's a little bit disappointing. As far as the rest of the figure, I'll go through some flaws real quick, and then we'll run through the articulation. The paintwork on the silver here, pretty disappointing. It's not where it's supposed to be, really, at all. Very not good. Otherwise, paint-wise, it's good. As far as the head goes, it's on a double ball peg, which is good, but the double ball peg is it sits too high on the neck, and I'm not sure if that's just a flaw on mine or on all of them, but the head sits really high on the neck, and you can see inside there, so that's not good. And it does look a little bit high to me, so I'm thinking the peg should have gone down farther into the neck. Additionally, for the head, the hair, while it's articulated, you really only get the hinge out of it right here, because the way it goes up into the head, you can't really rotate it to the side or anything, so the articulation is pretty much limited to just that. And then lastly, we have nice knee joints, which I'm not sure why they seated them so far back onto the thigh. That's a little strange to me, because if they were sitting farther forward on the knee, you wouldn't have that bulge back here. They're functionally fine. You get a good range of motion. They're just not quite as sturdy as the standard knee joint, so she does tend to fall backwards if you're holding her by just her leg. You can have that happen. And her ankles are fine, but her toes are not. Because they made her wearing these super pointy high-heeled shoes, it's actually pretty hard to get her to stand. Having the hinged joint for the toe is good, and having the swivel on there is good, but having these be so pointy and not easily leveled with the rest of the foot makes it very difficult to balance her. It can be done. You'll see in my photos at the end that I did it, but it is a little bit tricky. So those are all the flaws. Everything else on the figure I really like. I like the fact that she has that translucent visor. There she goes again, falling over. I like the translucent visor. That looks really cool. And underneath that visor, you can kind of see her face. And if you really want to see her face, you can lift that up. and then there's her face, which I think is a nice look for her, so that's cool. Well executed. The neck itself is on a double ball peg, so you can move the head however you want to. None of those annoying hinge joints that I really don't care for, so that's a really good thing. The shoulders don't have the butterfly joint, they have the ball hinge joint, but it functions as a butterfly because it's soft plastic here, so you can bring the arm pretty well around. No problem at all. I like that, and there's no huge gaps or anything, so that's good. You can bring the arm up because we have the soft plastic. So basically anything you want to do for the arm you can. There's no bicep swivel built in directly, but you can rotate the arm around on that hinge, or on that joint, so that's fine. We have standard elbow and wrist joints, so I don't really need to go over those. We have the double ball peg for the torso, which means good range of motion and no huge gaps. I'm super pleased with that. I think they need to stick with the double ball peg for all of their figures. It works so much better. For the lower torso, we have the standard ball peg that connects it to the kind of inner hip area, so we have good range of motion for that. Everything looks good, no problems at all, except occasionally this part back here, it does pop out and you get a bit of a gap, but you can just sort of tuck that back in and then you'll be good to go. For the hips, we have really nice range of motion. We can bring them all the way forward, and we can bring them back a little bit and all the way out to the side. So she's not going to have any trouble in the hip region at all. They did a really good job with that. You already saw the knees. The ankles are the standard ankle articulation. Nothing too special there. Good range of motion though, and you can rotate it around for an ankle rocker. So generally it's a really good figure, minus those few flaws, which I can personally overlook. Whether you guys can or not, that's up to you, but I'm very pleased with it. And just the general look of the figure itself makes it worth having, I think. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.